Hi, I'm Heidi with Oni Go Stamping. Thank you for joining me today. I'm excited because I have a project to share that is a gift, something you can give to somebody. It's a little gift box filled with note cards, and I'm going to share with you a technique called Pointillism to color in the images on those cards. It's really fun, and I can't wait to share it with you. But before I get started, if you have any questions about stamping, or you need to order Stampin' Up! Products, or you'd like to host a Stampin' Up! Event, or maybe you'd like to go to an online or in-person card making class, I would love to help you with any or all of those things. Just leave me a comment or send me an email and let me know how I can help you out. You can also go ahead and check out my website. The link to my website is in the description to this video. And I have more samples over there. I have pictures of the samples and all sorts of information about my upcoming card classes and events. Again, the link is in the description to this video. There's also a link to the complete supply list in the description of this video, and you can also find a link to my Facebook group. I would love to have you jump over there and join me in all the fun going on in that group too. All right, Oni go, let's get stamping. Today's cards and project that I'm going to share with you use the Rooted in Nature stamp set. This is a giant double-sized stamp set that is filled with natural images like trees, leaves, and lots of great sayings as well. Some of the other card samples that I have to share with you also use the Forever Fern stamp set, which is another great stamp set filled with leaves and great sayings. So really good too. All right, I'm gonna set those aside. I'm gonna start with a piece of Whisper White cardstock, and I am going to start by stamping a leaf on this cardstock. I'm gonna use the small leaf. I'm not good with trees. I don't know what kind of leaf that is, but it's a leaf. And I'm going to stamp it with some early espresso ink. Oops, and I smudged that a little bit. I'm just going to stamp it again. We're going to stamp it a second time. There we go. I just want to let this dry just a little bit to make sure that that ink is just kind of dry. I want to make sure that that leaf image is very, very dry because I'm going to be using Stampin' Blends with these. These are alcohol markers. Normally you would use these with the Memento ink pad, but that is only in black. And I wanted to use the early espresso for this. So I went ahead and grabbed the brown. And it will still work, but it may run just a tiny little bit when I do the first step. So letting it dry completely, fully, as much as possible will help with some of that. I'm going to start with my light Old Olive Stampin' Blend, and I am just going to color that leaf. I'm just putting down a base layer, and my light Old Olive Stampin' Blend needs to be replaced. So I'm just going to cover that all in. Now is when the fun part comes in, because now I'm going to add some little tiny dots. I'm going to start with the light Granny Apple Green. Let's see if that will, yeah. And I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to stamp some very small dots all along the edges. And I'm just not stamping, I'm just making these very, very close together, making a whole lot of them and going very quickly. So this does take some time. But you don't want to go too slow. You kind of want to just go really quick and add those little tiny dots really close together all along the edge. And then once I have the small dots all along the edge, I want to come in and add some more dots further apart towards the center. So then I'm going to grab the dark Granny Apple Green, and we'll add some of those dots too. So again, I'm going to add them close together near the edge. And then, just like the other time, I am stamping some more dots that are further apart towards the center. It's very quick. And then finally, I will use the dark Old Olive. And again, I'm going to stamp more dots closer together towards the edge. But like I did with the dark Granny Apple Green, I'm not going to do too many. And I keep saying stamp. I don't mean stamp. I'm just marking. I'm not stamping. So I'm not doing quite as many as I did originally. I'm doing even less with this dark color just because I don't want to cover up all of the other color. And just adding that towards the very edges. And then I'll pull a little bit more in. And I think you'll be able to see this even better on the second project I'm going to show you, but I wanted to start with the card and show you how I did this on the inside of an image. So there's my first leaf. To finish this off, I'm going to cut it out with a square from the stitched shape dies. So let me grab those. These are the stitched shape dies, and you can see there's circles and ovals, and then there are squares as well. And I think I want the second to the smallest one. Let's see. Yep, that one's gonna fit very nicely. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this out. Okay, so I cut out that leaf with that stitched square. So I have a nice little square here. Let me set the dies aside. In the Rooted in Nature stamp set, there's this stamp that says Just For You. I'm gonna grab that stamp. So I'm gonna grab that Just For You stamp, put it on my clear block, and we'll stamp the Just For You stamp with the Early Espresso as well. And I'm just going to stamp this in the corner. So just like that. And that will be the focal point for my card. For my cards today, I'm not doing full-size cards like I normally do. I am using our note cards and envelopes. So these are Whisper White note cards and envelopes. They come 20 a pack for $7. It's a really, really great deal. They're a little bit smaller than the normal 5.5 by 4.25 inch card that I often make, but they still are mailable. Okay, so they're still a regular size, and they come with envelopes too, and they're already pre-cut and scored. So I just need to fold this in half. I'll use my bone folder to get a nice fold. To finish this, I want to use a piece of old olive on the front. And this piece of old olive, so the note cards are 5 inches, I believe they're 5 inches by 3.5 inches. Yep, 5 by 3.5. My piece of old olive is 5 inches by 3.25. And I'm going to start just by embossing this with an embossing folder. In the August to December mini catalog, there's this set of 2 embossing folders called the Wrapped in Texture embossing folders. One of them has dots on it, and one has this really nice basket weave to it. So I'm going to use the basket weave one. And these aren't 3D folders, so I will use my Big Shot base, and then I'll use a cutting plate on the bottom and a cutting plate on the top. So I have my Big Shot platform. I have my regular cutting base, my embossing folder with my cardstock right inside, and then a second cutting plate on top of that. And I'll just run this through my Big Shot machine. There is my embossed old olive cardstock. Isn't that pretty? I just want to tie this. I'm going to tie a piece of linen thread to the front. Really quick and easy card here. Tie this in a little bow. Just tie that in a bow and trim off the end. I'm going to use Stampin' Seal to adhere this to my note card front. I'm going to be kind of generous with the Stampin' Seal because this is so textured and there is that linen thread in there. I want to make sure that it's really going to stick down. So I'm just centering that side to side as best I can, which is not very much. Just not very well. So stick that down. And then I'm going to add my little focal point with some Stampin' Dimensionals. Always got the Stampin' Dimensionals. I'm going to add one in each corner. Quick and easy. Peel off those backs. And we'll just stick that on the card front. So that that is that quick and easy card. Let me show you some of, well, no, you know what? I'm going to show you how to make the box first, and then I will show you all the samples because I have 5 other cards that I made with this. So let me set this aside and we'll work on the box. For the box, I'm using our mini paper pumpkin boxes. These are in the August to December mini catalog. I put the shiny side on the inside and the dull side on the outside. I found that the shiny side, you cannot, the ink won't dry on it. So I want to be able to ink this up. So I used the dull side. What I did is that I took a couple of Stampin' Spritzers. I filled these with rubbing alcohol, and then I put about 15 drops of Mango Melody and Pumpkin Pie inside of them. I spritzed the whole thing with Mango Melody, and then I spritzed some areas with the Pumpkin Pie. When that was done, and I'm not going to show you because it takes too long to dry and it's too big and too messy. I did this inside a cardboard box though, so that I contained all the mess and didn't have the ink spraying everywhere. But I sprayed it with the Mango Melody first, and then areas with the Pumpkin Pie. Show you what this looks like. Then I came in with my water painter, and I did some splatter. I took the re-inker, just like this Pumpkin Pie re-inker, and I just put a couple drops on a clear block, just like this, just to get some ink. Let me put the clean one aside. I don't want to get this all inky. And we'll just add a few more drops to this. You can already see I've done this. I did it in Pumpkin Pie and Soft Suede, but just to show you how I did it, I took my medium water painter. I got a little bit of water in there, and I picked up that Pumpkin Pie ink, got it good and inky, and I take my water painter and I kind of stick it inside the brush and then flick it out towards my box. And that will get splatters. If it's wetter and you have bigger drops, get closer, go slower. If you want finer drops, use a little bit less water and kind of get further away, go faster. That will usually give you bigger drops, but it really, you have to play with it. It takes some time to get used to it, and even then, you never know what you're gonna get, and you get it all over your fingers. So definitely do this someplace where you can be a little bit messy. So I'll set this aside. I don't want to do this too much because we're going to finish this box up. So I'm going to set this aside and let's see how I decorated the cover. I have a piece of Whisper White cardstock that is 3 inches by 4 3/4 inches. Don't worry, all of these dimensions will be available over on my website, so you can check them out there. And I want to stamp some leaves on the front of this. So I already stamped that small leaf. I'm going to stamp the bigger leaf. That's the same style. And once again, I'm going to be stamping these with the Early Espresso ink. I want to make a whole line of leaves across the front of here. So I'm going to start by stamping a couple. I have stamped 2 leaves on here, and now I'm going to make a mask to cover these leaves. So I still have that same stamp. I'm going to stamp it on a sticky note, a little Post-it note. I'm going to try to get as much as I can on the sticky side of that Post-it note. And then I will just trim this out with some scissors. This stamp set does have dies that go with it, but when you're making a mask, you want to get it a lot closer. You actually want to cut just inside the line instead of just outside the line. So you really need to use scissors to get this nice and close. But luckily, it's a really simple shape, and it doesn't have to be perfect. So I'm just going to very quickly cut around that leaf. And then I'm going to cover up my leaves. So I'll cover this one up with this mask I just made. And then I have another mask that I actually cut out earlier. So I'll go ahead and cover up the second one with this other mask. Now I'm going to bring in the smaller leaf that we used earlier. I'm going to start by stamping that between these 2 leaves. And I'm also going to stamp another one of these leaves. Maybe like this. pull off those masks. Actually, you know what? We're going to do one more thing. Before I move this mask, I'm going to stamp another leaf off over this way. Maybe. Just trying to vary the direction of the leaves, and so it's a little challenging. There we go. So you can see how when I remove those masks, how one leaf looks like it's in front of the other. So I'm just taking that off. I'm going to move the masks over, and then I'm going to stamp another small leaf over here. And I don't have a mask for that. I wonder if I can just, we're just gonna wing it, because I just need a little tiny bit just to finish off my line of leaves. That works. All right. So there I have a line of leaves across the front, and now I want to go back in and I will do some more of that pointillism technique. This time I'm going to go with a yellow-orange scheme. So I have my Mango Melody Stampin' Blends and my dark Pumpkin Pie Stampin' Blend. I think that's what I'm going to use. We'll see. And this time I want to do this on the outside of the leaves. So I'm going to start with the lightest color. Actually, you know what? For this one on the outside, I like to start with the medium color. So I'm going to start with the medium color, which is the dark mango. And just like before, I'm going to do a lot of those little tiny dots very close to the stamped image. And I'm going to do this all over. I'll probably do this in sections just because I get kind of tired of doing one thing. So I'll do all these really close ones. Then I come in and I add some that get further apart. Like that. Then I'll grab the lighter shade of the mango. And I'm going to do more dots. I'm doing these just outside of the really close ones I did before. So I'm overlapping those really close ones. So I kind of blend it together, and I'm doing another really close line with the lighter color right next to it. Just to the outside of it, I guess is what we could call it. So very quickly adding those close dots. And then again, we'll do some further out. And further apart. Finally, I will come in with the dark pumpkin pie, and I'm doing these close to the center again, but I'm not doing nearly as many as I did before because I don't want to completely overtake what I've already done. I want to add another darker line, but I want to be able to still have those other colors in there. And I'll add a few more out, probably not quite as many, just like that. I think with these darker colors, this orange, you can see those dots even better than you could before, especially when it's on the outside here, and they really have room to kind of fade off into the distance. So I will continue that, and I'm going to go around all of those leaves. I have done the whole bottom underneath the leaves, and now I'm going to go ahead and do over top of the leaves too in the same way. So I'm starting with the medium or the dark Mango Melody, and I will just make a whole bunch of little tiny dots very close to the leaves. After I have that first line of little tiny dots really close, I'll do some further out, getting further apart as they get further away from the line of the stamped leaves. I like to try to keep the contour of those leaves even when the dots get further out, but it doesn't always happen. Then I'll use the light Mango Melody and I'll do another line just right next to that closest line of dots. Kind of blending it out. Just making really tiny dots, going very, very quickly. I don't want to smash the tip to my Stampin' Blend though, so you do have to be a little bit careful. And then again, I will add some further out, getting further apart. I almost think these little dots look like falling leaves, so I love that. I love it with the fall leaves because the dots themselves remind me of leaves. And then with the dark pumpkin pie. Again, not putting them quite as close together, but still closer together near the stamped images. And a few more further out. Then I just look and see, do I need any more? So I have that all covered, but you know, maybe I just need to add a few more here and there. Especially, I like to make sure that the points kind of come down to a point. So I'll just take some different colors and maybe add some more dots where I think they're needed. And that looks pretty good, so I'll stop right there. So there it is, all covered with dots. Isn't that cool? I love the look of this. Now I want to finish off the front to my box. And to do that, I want to write notes on the front. So I'm going to use the Playful Alphabet dies to cut out the letters. And I'm going to cut out 3 sets. I'm going to cut out 1 set that is Mango Melody, and I'm going to cut out 2 more sets that are Early Espresso, and I'm going to stack these dies. So here are the Playful Alphabet dies. They're just a nice little alphabet set, perfect for the front of this box. Through the magic of television, I have 3 sets of those letters cut out. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stack them. I could have used the adhesive sheets like you've seen me use before to get a nice raised letter, but I really like the look of these letters stacked with the dark paper underneath. It just shows a little bit. You'll see at the end. So I'm just going to glue all these together. You can see how I glued the first one, just putting a little bit of liquid adhesive on the top, trying not to get too much. Kind of bubbled up there. And so I do 2 Early Espresso letters and then 1 Mango Melody right on top. And try to get those all lined up nice and straight. And clear the adhesive off the edges. So I'll do that with all the letters. So I have all of those stacked up and I just love the way this looks. You can see just a little bit, a hint of brown, especially as you turn sideways to look. Now I'm going to add these to the front of my box top here. Hopefully the adhesive is a little bit more controlled. When I put those together, I've never had the adhesive be so crazy for me. So hopefully it's a little more controlled. We'll see. I'm kind of making a giant mess today. So I'm just going to put adhesive on the back of each of those and glue them down. and try to get these straight. Normally I would take a ruler, I forgot to grab my ruler, and just lay my ruler down to try to get these nice and straight across here. So you can use your grid paper. So take your grid paper and line that up on your grid paper. And then I'm going to use these sticky notes. Line the edge of my card up and then line my sticky notes up with another line, and that will help me get those nice and straight. And there it now says notes. So now we're just going to finish this off. So just like the card that I showed you, I'm going to put some linen thread on here. I'm going to make a double. So we're going to make this twice. You know what? I'm going to layer this first. So this piece of white cardstock is 3 4 3/4. I have a piece of Mango Melody that is 3 3/16 by 4 15/16. For this, I'm going to use a little bit of Stampin' Seal and just put that down. Oops. And I did this backwards. It should have gone on the white. Whew. I think it is time for me to be done stamping today because I'm making all sorts of mistakes. All right. We'll rub off that extra adhesive. If you get a little bit extra adhesive that isn't where it's supposed to be, you can usually just kind of rub it off and it will go away. I have a little adhesive eraser somewhere, but I have to find it. All right, so now I'm going to take my linen thread and just want to see how much I want. So let's say about that much. I'm going to cut 2 pieces this length. Normally I cut it after I tie the bow, but because I want to do a double, I'm going to cut it all at once. So I just have 2 pieces, and I'll wrap this around the front and tie this in a bow. Sometimes I like to make a double bow. It just has a little bit more, oomph to it, a little more presence. So I finally have that tied. My bow is not sitting quite how I want it though, so I'm going to do a little trick with a mini glue dot. So I'm just going to peel that off. I'm going to grab my take a pick tool and pick up that mini glue dot, and I'm going to slide it underneath my bow, and then just going to stick my bow down to the front of my card, and that will help it stick exactly where I want it, facing the direction I want it. So just like that, a quick little tip for you. And now I want to glue this to a piece of early espresso cardstock. This piece is 3.5 by 5 1/4, and we're going to put the Stampin' Seal on the back of the Mango Melody. Except that I'm making a giant mess again. And now I want to put this on the top of my box. To put it on the top of the box, I'm actually going to use the Stampin' Seal Plus. So the outside of the Stampin' Seal Plus looks the same, but the Stampin' Seal is just flat and straight. With the Stampin' Seal Plus with the Stampin' Seal Plus, it's kind of like these little tiny rectangles. I don't know if you'll be able to see it as I pull this across the page, but there's little tiny rectangles. I find that it really likes to jump off the ruler, so be careful and slide it back towards center if it starts to do that, but it has these little tiny rectangles. And this adhesive is super, super strong, so I'd like to use it on the top of the box just to make sure that this really sticks to that box. So I'm going to grab my box again, and then we will just slide this right on the top. And let me grab all of the cards that I'm going to stick inside. So let's look at the cards. I took the envelopes and I stamped a couple leaves in, I think I stamped it in Mango Melody, but Yep, I think those are Mango Melody, and I just stamp those on the corner of my little envelopes just to make them cute. So I set those aside. We'll tuck those inside the box. You can see they fit really nice. And then we have the card that I just made earlier. I have another very similar card, but there I did the outside and I actually stamped that fern image with Memento Black instead of the Early Espresso. We have another one, and this background is the Brick and Mortar 3D embossing folder. This one is a landscape direction. And then we have another one, and this is the Tasteful Textile background. And here I just added a strip of Early Espresso cardstock towards the bottom. Quick and easy. And then my last one, this one was cut with a little bit bigger square, but still really cute. I can put all those inside and close up my box. And there I have a very cute little gift to give to somebody. Wasn't that gift box so cute? And that pointillism technique is so much fun. I can't wait to try it out with more stamps. Thank you so much for joining me today. Once again, you're going to find links in the description to this video to my website where there's more samples. There's the complete cutting dimensions over there as well. There's also a link in the description to the complete supply list. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave a comment or send me an email. I'd be happy to answer those questions for you. And if you like this video, make sure to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and come back again for more card making ideas. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.